Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy describes Monday night's meeting in Brussels with NATO chief Mark Rutte and EU leaders as good and productive.
Antonio Costa has rejected any attempt to interfere in European politics in response to a controversial document released by the Trump administration last week. Celebrations kicked off across Syria as people marked 1 year since the fall of longtime strongman President Bashar al-Assad.
At least 33 people were injured after a magnitude 7.5 earthquake hit northeastern Japan on Monday night. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy held his Monday evening meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, European Council President Antonio Costa, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, describing it as good and productive. Zelenskyy said that he had briefed the NATO chief and EU leaders on the situation on the diplomatic track following his earlier meeting in London with leaders of the UK, France, and Germany, known as the E3. According to Zelenskyy, the meeting touched on the PURL initiative to procure critical US-made military equipment and the reparations loan. Monday's meeting came ahead of Thursday's high-stakes European Council summit that will focus on efforts to persuade Belgium to approve the use of Russian frozen assets to help the war effort in Ukraine. Earlier in his London meeting, Zelenskyy reiterated that any territorial concessions to Russia, a key element of Washington's plan for ending the war, remain off the board. According to the Ukrainian president, Kyiv had neither the legal nor moral right to hand over territory to Russia in any deal seeking to end the war.
After 3 days of talks between US and Ukrainian delegations in Florida, Donald Trump says Zelenskyy is not ready for a peace deal with Russia. Speaking to reporters at the 2025 Kennedy Center honors, he accused the Ukrainian leader of holding up the talks from moving forward.
And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelenskyy hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it.
However, Russian President Vladimir Putin hasn't publicly expressed approval for the White House plan. Trump was the first president to hold the Kennedy Center honors, a role normally assumed by journalists and presenters. He says he did so, quote, at the request of a certain television network. During his speech, he praised Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, and Gloria Gaynor, among others.
European Council President Antonio Costa rejected any attempt at political interference in response to a controversial U.S. government document published last week criticizing Europe. The document, released by the Trump administration, called on Europe to change course and tighten immigration or face what they called civilizational erasure. It also noted that it will support, quote, like-minded patriotic parties across the continent to cultivate resistance.
Donc, on a des différences sur notre vision du monde. Mais ça va au-delà de ça. C'est certes que cette stratégie continue à parler de l'Europe en tant qu'allié. C'est bien. Mais si on est des alliés, on doit agir en tant qu'alliés. Et les alliés ne menacent pas de l'interférence dans la vie, dans le choix politique intérieur de ses alliés. On les respecte. On respecte la souveraineté des uns et des autres. Sûrement, plusieurs Européens ne partagent pas la même vision que les Américains sur des différents sujets. Et c'est naturel qu'ils ne partagent pas la même vision qu'on a. Ce qu'on ne peut pas accepter, c'est cette menace d'interférence dans la vie politique de l'Europe. Les États-Unis ne peuvent pas remplacer les citoyens européens pour choisir quels sont les bons partis et les mauvais partis. Les États-Unis ne peuvent pas remplacer l'Europe sur la vision qu'on a de la liberté d'expression.
The 33-page document also argued that a combination of ill-designed economic policies, excessive regulation, and illegal migration could lead to Europe's demise as a civilization. Washington says its goal is to help Europe change its current trajectory, a sentiment European lawmakers have slammed as unacceptable. Celebrations kicked off across Syria to mark 1 year since the ousting of longtime strongman President Bashar al-Assad. These were the scenes in the capital Damascus. People cheered, fireworks were set off, and the new Syrian flags were raised and waved. And the country's transitional president, Ahmed al-Shara, delivered a message promising bright and stable times ahead.
أيها الشعب السوري الكريم، لقد أثبتتم للعالم أن النصر مجرد بداية. تعالوا بنا جميعا نكمل الحكاية، حكاية شعب صمد وصبر فأعزه الله ونصره. تعالوا لنجعل من النصر مسؤولية تتجلى فينا جدا وعملا وعدالة ورحمة لننهض بوطننا الحبيب نحو مصاف الدول المتقدمة بإذن الله.
The message appears to have been well received by the Syrian public.
طبعا الذكرى لا تختصر بكلمة ولا تختزل بموقف، إنها فرحة عظيمة، وأجمل ما فيها كلمة السيد الرئيس الذي عبر عن ما فعل في سنة كاملة من أمل وطموحات وما سيرسم إن شاء الله في المرحلة القادمة.
December 8th does not just mark the end of Bashar's rule for the people of Syria. It's the end of the Assad dynasty, which started with his father Hafez back in 1971. It's also an opportunity for Syrians to remember the estimated 600,000 people who lost their lives in 14 years of brutal civil war.
Japan on Tuesday began to assess damage and caution people of potential aftershocks after a late-night 7.5 magnitude earthquake left at least 33 people injured. According to the Fire and Disaster Management Agency, the quake caused light damage and a tsunami in Pacific coastal communities. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi said an emergency task force was formed to urgently assess the damage.
実際に大規模地震が発生するかどうかは不確実であることを十分にご理解いただいた上で、自らの命は自らが守るという原則に基づき防災行動を取っていただくようにお願いを申し上げます。
Officials said train services in coastal counties were halted and thousands of people were left without electricity. Safety inspections were also carried out at several nuclear power plants after the earthquake, learning from the 2011 Fukushima disaster, but no major damage appears to have occurred. Authorities said they've ordered the evacuation of some 90,000 people.
Iskustvu našem dugogodišnjem zimskoga kupanja i proučavanjem stručne kao i znanstvene literature možemo reći da su benefiti veliki. Prvenstveno jedna poboljšanje cirkulacije, poboljšanje rada srca, rad pluća, znači elasticiteta krvnih žila, što je vrlo bitno, pogotovo kod starih ljudi, jačanje imuniteta u ove zimske razdoblje.
Danas su nam se pridružili opatijski kukali koji će zajedno sa našim gostima sudjelovati u tradicionalnom zimskom kupanju u moru. Posljednje vrijeme sve veći je interes za zdravstvenim turizmom i upravo se naš grad po tome izdvaja.
Wir neugeboren, wir jung.
Wir schwimmen auch zu Hause im Wörthersee und da ist das auch ein tolles Erlebnis, im Meer zu schwimmen.
O que está acontecendo aqui? senhora é Tereza, dona da casa?
Aham.
É uma homenagem do governo.
Homenagem?
É, por conta da sua idade.
Mas desde quando uma pessoa é homenageada só porque ficou velha?
Abordagem de documentos.
Ainda falta 3 anos.
A senhora precisa comparecer na prefeitura com urgência.
Eu vou ter que andar no catavélio.
Mas você não já sabia que tu ia pra colônia?
Eu não sabia que era agora. Tem coisa que eu ainda quero fazer.
Cadê aquela senhorinha que veio no beiro se lavar?
E a senhora? Tá indo fazer o que lá em Taquatioca?
Garantir meu lugar no céu.
Para que quer dinheiro?
Eu vou comprar a liberdade antes de ser preso. Será que dá medo de voar lá em cima?
Quanto mais medo, melhor.
Você não tem medo da polícia, não?
Ninguém pode fazer nada comigo.
Deixe ninguém travar seu caminho, não.
Dizem que ele tem poder de encanto. Tu vai ver o que tu nunca viu.